Hey guys, it's God Bars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 45th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what impact it had, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. While one of the first albums I covered on this channel was only built for Cuban links, I knew that I'd still want to have at least one solo Wu-Tang album in this group to accompany Enter the 36 Chambers. But this was by no means a small pool of choices to pick from, even when narrowing it down just to one decade. While that cuts out some of the more recent output like 12 Reasons to Die or Sour Soul by Ghostface Killah, there's still so many options I had to kind of hold off on Wu affiliated projects like Blackout, the collaborative album by Method Man and Redman, and 6 Feet Deep by Gravediggaz. But luckily, RZA produced enough music between 1994 and 1996 to last a lifetime, to the point he easily could have retired in 97, and I guarantee he'd still be in all-time top 10 beatmaker lists. These classics include the aforementioned Gravediggaz debut and Act RZA was essential to, though of course the project was largely masterminded by Prince Paul. Bobby Digital would do all the instrumentals for Method Man's debut to Cal that same year, and then in 95 he did Only Built for Cuban Links, Old Dirty Bastard's debut, and Liquid Swords. He could have stopped there, but instead the following year he would produce Ghostface Killah's classic solo debut Iron Man. You could honestly make the run even longer, technically speaking, because this 94 to 96 stretch was bookended by 36 Chambers in 93 and Wu-Tang Forever in 97. It started to drop off a bit after this point due to RZA and the various members embarking in different directions, as well as the market for hip hop changing. There's still plenty of highlights post 1997, though, like the previously mentioned Redman and Method Man collaboration. Along with that legendary duo, 1999 gave us ODB's second album, which, in my opinion, is the single most underrated Wu Tang solo album. However, I can't say it's the very best, because I don't really count Cuban Links as a solo album per se, which leaves GZA's Liquid Swords as the cream of the crop. As much as I love all the projects I mentioned, and even though my overall favorite solo Wu album is Supreme Clientele, I don't have that on vinyl yet, and regardless it wouldn't be in this group since it didn't come out in the 90s. GZA has long been one of the densest and most knowledgeable lyricists, not just to come from the clan, but to grace the mic, period. I'm not sure if the ranking would be the same now, but I remember around a decade ago there was a chart that someone put out which ranked rappers according to how diverse their word count was. Basically meaning whoever had used the widest array of vocabulary, and if I remember correctly, GZA was number 2, second only to Aesop Rock. If you're familiar with Aesop and his style, it's probably pretty understandable to you why he tops that list. Honestly, I'd be kinda surprised if he didn't. However, despite the genius having many years in the game, he has a relatively small discography, which I think makes it all the more impressive he still managed to practically top the list. And don't be fooled, GZA didn't attain this status by just thumbing through a rhyming dictionary and putting gibberish together. He isn't pulling some fancy word out of thin air when it's unnecessary just to seem like a more complex writer. He's one of those writers I truly admire and respect because I feel like he practically never wastes a line. Don't get me wrong, I love a lot of rappers who aren't saying something insane every single line, because there is something to be said for having restraint and using decent bars to build up to your big punchline. Honestly, a lot of people have a style that warrants it, and their fan base doesn't expect or want food for thought every line. But when you're talking about guys like GZA, Doom, Black Thought, Billy Woods, or Three Stacks, you can tell these guys never want to waste 1 second. And to me, it not just shows that they love the art form and culture that they're in, but that they cherish the opportunity just to be part of it at all. Liquid Swords has slightly more restrained production than some of the other Wu albums, but it helps construct the calm, skilled samurai character that the skits and samples build in your head. While the album still has its fair share of noisy, speaker-knocking moments like Gold or Fourth Chamber, personally I feel like the more minimal instrumentals were early benchmarks for many of the modern underground New York scenes going on currently, particularly the style that guys like Rock Marciano, Ka, The Alchemist, Huss Kingpin, and the various Griselda members brought back to the forefront. GZA had actually technically been the first Wu-Tang member to put out a solo album, with 1991's Words from the Genius coming before the group would even be formed. Though his cousin RZA was also active in 91 under the name Prince Rakeem, this was before he really settled into his designated sound and style yet, and was still figuring out his identity as an artist. GZA was in the same position after his first album failed to reach massive acclaim, but by the time his second album Here would come out, he had virtually reinvented himself completely. As you may have expected, RZA produced this entire masterpiece himself, front to back, void of one track which was done by Fourth Disciple of Kill Army. The feature list is also unsurprisingly full of familiar faces like Old Dirty Bastard, RZA, Master Killa, Inspector Deck, Killer Priest, You God, Ghostface, and Raekwon, and of course the Tacalian Stallion. It kind of goes without saying that this classic has nowhere anywhere near a skip, so I have to give some honorable mentions for favorites like Duel of the Iron Mike, Cold World, Labels, Hell's Wind Staff slash Killer Hills 10304, Investigative Reports, and I Got You Back. For my three top songs, personally they'd have to be the title track, Fourth Chamber, and Shadowboxing. Thank you for watching my 45th video. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs off Liquid Swords are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.